Hello, friends. Welcome to People Are Interesting, an audio journal hosted by me, Jan K, as a record of people who inspired me and of topics that I found intriguing over time. Enjoy and thank you for joining the club.
I remember the first time I walked into a boxing gym. Well, actually, it wasn't a boxing gym. It was a kickboxing slash boxing gym, and it was in Portugal. It was run. It was a family-run boxing gym, and the head coach was a father. Two sons were assistant coaches, and mom was also coaching, and they were all super kind of involved in what they were doing. It was in Faro in south of Portugal, and I don't know, what a vibe, honestly, when I walked in. So because I had some experiences of striking before. I've done a couple of classes in London of Muay Thai, and I was like, geez, this is so violent. Like, people are trying to push kick me, people are trying to kick me, people are trying to, like, I don't know, hit me in the face. It was quite a lot. Like, honestly, for a person, for a normal person like me, just the idea of even quite limited violence, like training martial arts, like, let's say, striking based martial arts, is it's still quite a lot to take. Like, the first time you're getting hit on your nose, or just first time someone is kind of transgressing on your personal space in a violent manner, even though it's in a sport context and in a controlled environment, it really doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel comfortable. You feel vulnerable, and I don't know, at least me, I was thinking, oh my God, what if I get hurt? What if this? What if that? So I think it's just amazing to see when I go to the gym now, Fight Zone in London, there's just so many people who are training, and I think really enjoying it. I feel like people get really hooked on training different martial arts, because the classes are just packed. Like, the evening classes are full. Dudes, gals, everyone, like straight killers who've been doing it for years and years and years, and like just guys who are like trying to lose some weight by like doing something cool. So I feel like it's probably like this kind of sport is becoming really popular these days. I'm not sure why that is the case, actually. If it's because I feel like boxing has always been popular, no matter what. But I don't know. Maybe it's the UFC, and just it kind of like permeated the popular culture with like all this kind of like icon symbol, iconic status of Conor McGregor 10 years ago, or I don't know. I don't know. It probably would be an interesting social question to ask why. But it's the same with climbing as well, actually. People kind of like things have kind of exploded. I feel like surfing is the same. Like, people who probably wouldn't necessarily consider surfing as a sport and a way to spend time are really into it. I don't know, maybe it's because like the people have more money and more free time than before, and there's internet, so you kind of like, let's say if you live in a city not close to the sea, you probably wouldn't know much about surfing. None of your friends would be necessarily surfing. But because you have Instagram and you see all those amazing people just ripping in beautiful waves, enjoying amazing weather, you're thinking, hey, I want that as well. So I think internet is actually probably spreading, I mean, I'm saying such an obvious thing, that internet is spreading good ideas, and like you can find good role models on the internet, however crazy it sounds. Sure, you will find people who will try to convince you that the earth for sure is flat, but it's just a mixed bag. Internet is a mixed bag, I think. So I think clever people will find good things, and kind of like paranoidal, anxiety driven people will find shit that is gonna speak to that part of their personality. So I walked into this boxing gym in Portugal, and I I kind of wasn't I kind of knew that kickboxing wasn't necessarily my thing. When I've done a couple of those classes before, I didn't feel like I've connected. I didn't feel like a spark, so to say. And I don't know, when I do things, I want to feel a spark. I want to think about them. I want to do them. I want to feel like what I'm doing is cool in the sense of my enjoyment of it, and that it's kind of in line with how I perceive myself. So we walked into the boxing gym, and the guy just throws a couple of feints and like slips, shadow boxing. It was just shadow boxing, and I was like, man, this is cool the way he moves, because he moves slightly. I guess you're more, because you don't have to worry about someone like kneeing your face or head kicking you. It's just the punches you need to be aware of. I think you can be more loose in boxing, and I really like that. So I started training, and because it was during COVID, there was no sparring, no nothing. Like you couldn't even touch. So it was just kind of like drilling, like learning how to throw a punch, learning how to throw a jab, learning how to throw jab cross, learning how to throw a good hook, learning how to throw an uppercut. Like really the basics of boxing. And I think maybe also because it wasn't so confrontational, because of the way the classes were run. It was more like technique focused, trying to ingrain correct reactions and instincts, and just teaching your body how to move a certain way to respond to problems that an opponent will throw at you. Because a lot of what boxing is, or not only boxing, any martial arts, is just responding to problems with correct having correct reactions available quickly. I think that's the whole point of drilling, is just doing things without thinking about them, just doing them quickly, responsive, instinctual. And I think it's probably in a sense a little bit like dancing. Obviously there isn't as much violence in dancing as there could be in boxing, especially if you start taking it a bit more seriously. But just in terms of getting your body to move, it's about fluidity. It's about kind of like, I don't want to say choreography, because it's I act, you respond. I act, you respond. So it's back and forth, whereas dancing is more about choreography. But it's just about this movement, and I think you can't really be thinking about anything else when you're doing those things that require coordination of your movement with your thinking. So I think another good thing about boxing is that, or like any kind of martial art, is that I think for an hour when you're training, you're not really thinking about anything else. This is what you're doing, and you're focused on that. So the guy throws some cool moves when shadow boxing, and I'm thinking, and I really still come back to that moment so often, because I remember it. It was like a hot day in the south of Portugal in August. It was on the ground floor of a pretty big building in central Faro, and it was hot in that room. You would start sweating almost instantly. And I remember I was just thinking, wow, this is cool. This is what I kind of would like to do, what I would like to get better at. And I would just keep coming to the classes for a few months, and a few years have gone, and there's been lockdowns and things like that, but I still really enjoy it, and I still try to be very regular about doing it. And I definitely going into the ring and trying to beat the shit out of someone and potentially getting my ass kicked is not what I'm interested in. It's just not why I do it, I think. I had a couple of workout sessions where I came back home and I had a bit of a headache. It only happened once or twice, to be fair. But I don't know, that's your brain cells just dying. So I think this might be slightly too extreme for me, but a lot of people do it just for that. They love fighting. I'm not sure if I love fighting. I'm not sure if I'm necessarily a fighter. I'm not sure if I would like to just bring violence to someone and have to deal with someone actually trying to hurt me. Because I think that's a very different kind of situation and motivation to do boxing. I honestly, in some ways, I think about it as just a type of body movement that I really enjoy, and I think that's whatever works for you as a person, I think. But I think I think it's really good that everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of people are doing it these days, because I think it makes you a bit more confident. I think it makes you a bit more friendly, because you understand that there's so many people who are 50 times better than you, and you're definitely not the cool kid on the block when it comes to skills and just being able to, basically your ego gets put in the line, because you understand there are people who are just, they could do bad things to you if they wanted to. So if you would try to do something on the street and you met one of those trained killers from the gym on the street, and he really decided that he needs to pacify you, you would be fucked. So I think that's really good. That's a really good motivation to be just nice and friendly to people in outside of the boxing gym. It's just I think it creates more respectful attitude in at least in me, but I think it applies to everyone.